welcome to the Oprah Show. Today we're going to be discussing the book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, which is a really captivating read that deals with freedom, identity, music, but most importantly the transformation of one man from a slave to a free man. And ladies and gentlemen, we have here in the studio today Frederick Douglass himself. Let's give him a round of applause. Frederick, hello. Thank you for being here today. So great to see you.
I'm happy to be here. Very happy.
So, Frederick, you wrote this amazing autobiography, and it was just really powerful and filled with really beautiful language. And one of the passages that really stuck out to me was this that I'll share with the studio audience here today. It says, "You have seen how a man was made a slave. You shall see how a slave was made a man." And wow, that was just so powerful. I was wondering if you could elaborate at all about that.
Well, what I meant by when I wrote it was that, we had been dehumanized as a slave. And basically my whole journey with learning how to stand up for myself and take the initiative, I gained back my manhood.
Interesting. Good. Okay. So wow, that must have been a really tough challenge for you. Just how hard was that transformation back to manhood?
It was really hard. Like, I literally had to fight for instance, with the fight with Mr. Colby, my 10th grade man. He had wanted to discipline me, and instead of obeying, I refused and fought back. I won. And from
And
that,
this was a physical fight, right?
I messed him up.
Okay.
And from that fight, I realized that not only could I take my freedom through education, but physically. And I resolved then that if I was to get beat again, I would rather die than let that, help me gain my manhood.
Confidence, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really inspirational. Good. Wow, that's really interesting. That's inspiring. So another really important part of this novel that I noticed was how you described your literacy and how you came by that. And I noticed at one point that you even described thinking freely to be a burden. I was just wondering if you could elaborate more on that.
Well, I really felt that way because it was an argument between my new master, and he was saying how, don't teach him how to read, you give him an inch, he'll take an L. And when I thought about it and I connected it back to the abolition, I realized the key to my freedom, which was literacy, which was the reason why they were so mad at me being able to write. So from that, I had this new power, but it was a burden because there was no way I could further my education. There was no way I could continue to obtain it. So even though I knew to have the power, knew what it was, I wasn't able to do anything about it. So I was trapped.
That must have been really frustrating.
Very.
So did that power really hinder any of your relationships? Because I'm sure, everyone was obviously in your shoes. So did it hinder any of your relationships with your friends or family, this new knowledge?
Not really hinder, but it affected me because when I was getting auctioned off, I was dreading the fact of going back to my old master because by me knowing the whole reason what they were really doing during slavery, I wasn't able to be dehumanized again. I had just got my manhood back. I just learned the key, and I wasn't, I guess ignorant to the fact of what was going on around me, unlike the people I used to work with was. So if I was to go back to that situation, I couldn't deal with it knowing what I knew.
I see. Must have been really frustrating.
Yeah. So it was this.
Wow, that's interesting. So we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back with more Frederick Douglass. We're going to discuss other topics like music, religion, and the horrible conduct of some of his masters. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Now available at Barnes & Noble, The North Star, the famous abolitionist newspaper started by Frederick Douglass. It is also available online and on your smartphones and iPads. Tonight on the O'Reilly Factor, we've got a great show for you. We're going to disprove evolution. We're going to bring the entire Democratic Party to its knees. But first, we've got a guest, a very important man by the name of Frederick Douglass, who is here to talk to us about his new autobiography.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you, Frederick. Now, in your book, which is controversial to say the least, you complain about a lot of things that I really consider to be traditional American values, such as holidays. What's your problem with holidays,
Well, the
Frederick?
problem is that we were tricked into acting like fools and further dehumanized rather than truly enjoying our holiday.
But don't you think it was sort of a privilege that your masters were giving you this time off for the holidays, and you just wasted it with alcohol?
No, because we were again tricked into believing that drinking was freedom and that was the American thing to do. So we drunk as we thought that was our freedom.
Well, from my perspective, I might have to call that into question a little bit. There's been a little bit of rumblings around the office here that some of what you've written in this book, not just in this passage, but in the entire book, may not be completely factual. Are you willing to stand behind everything you've written in this book?
Well, this is my life, and I wouldn't have to lie about something that I experienced. Because if it wasn't true, then slave owners wouldn't have went through such great lengths to justify it. And unlike you, I wouldn't have to lie about something like that.
Whoa, no need to call me a liar on my own show. I don't mean things get this heated. As an American, I just feel like it is my duty to call things into question. So that's all I'm trying to do here.
Go.
You mad, Bill?
We'll be right back after these brief messages.